If you wonder why, and this evening, you will understand by the end of this Drinking Bliss Divine Satsang what are the superpower of devotion, and gain clarity and how to use them to transform yourself and your life. And maybe you have heard of this great devotee. Do you know? Have you heard about this great devotee who actually opened up and torn his chest apart and was bleeding completely? Some people know, but very few people, generally speaking. This comes from a divine moment from the Ramayana. You know, the Ramayana is a mystical yogic lord, very ancient, that dates from thousands and thousands of years. And the Ramayana depict a war where Rama fights in a battle where Sita, his beloved, got kidnapped by the king of Lanka. Now it's called Sri Lanka. It's situated right at the bottom of India. And right there, it looks like an island, but it really is not. And she was kidnapped there. And so they were fighting. And out of a sudden, when they won the war and everything was settled down, they returned to their palace and the court with great celebration and devotion and gratitude and bliss. And one among all the devotees was Unaman. Do you know about Unaman? You never heard of Unaman? Unaman is a deity now. He became a deity. He self-realized by his incredible power of devotion, the mystical power of his own devotion for Rama. Rama, who was one of the avatar of Vishnu, the god Vishnu. This is in the yogic lore. Vishnu also had an avatar with Krishna, was another avatar, but this one is with Rama. And so to go back into the court, everyone was celebrating. And among all those devotees, Hanuman, he looks like a monkey. You must have seen it. He has the face of a monkey. He's really worshipped for his great devotion towards the divine. Whatever how you see the divine, but for him, Rama was his divine person. So Sita, you have heard bhajan chant in Sanskrit of Sitaram, Sitaram. You heard of that, right? And so Hanuman has been celebrated throughout the yogic tradition for his great strength, his great devotion to Lord Rama. So here they were in the court, and Sita was overwhelmed with gratitude and tears and decided, as a token of love and gratitude, to offer one of her necklace. It's a beautiful pearl necklace. And so he came, he accepted it, he bowed down, and he started looking at it, breaking into parts and biting it. And suddenly he realized, he stopped, and everybody looked at him. They were in awe. They said, "What's happening? Why is he behaving like this?" And they were like shocked. Some were mocking him, laughing. And one of them in the court, they say, "Unaman, why are you behaving like this? Why so being disrespectful?" And then he said, "Well, if Rama is not, the name of Rama is not on it all, no value for me." And another person in the court said, "Well, do you mean to say that everything that you hold of value has Rama in it?" He said, "Actually, stay quiet and silent." And then suddenly he goes like that, and he tore and torn his chest wide open, and he was bleeding. And people in the court were like in awe. And they were like, and some were weeping and in tear. They didn't see the blood, but what they saw Sita and Rama sitting in his heart in a golden aura. And they were amazed and mesmerized by the mystical power of his devotion. And so by the end of this satsang, you will understand those hidden power, how it can transform your life. And I will tell you, even from my own experience, what a juice of life, the mystical hidden power of devotion, how you can go about life and get rid of what doesn't serve your highest good. And not only you will understand and have clarity, but you will have tools and practices and method to implement, even though they're subtle. And you will realize so many things by the end of this satsang. So are you willing? Yes. So welcome for all of you around the world. We're so happy you're here. Welcome to our Drinking Bliss satsang. And we welcome you on our beloved community if you're new, and for all of you who have been with Devi Ma, it's wonderful to have you. So devotion is the grand empowerment. And it's mystical because a lot of people don't understand the mysticism behind it. And it comes from thousands and thousands of years throughout the yogic tradition. It's a tool of dissolution, of being devoid of your personality. That when you empty of all of what doesn't serve you, which is called personality. Personality is not who you are. A lot of people think, this is the way I am. I can't change. I will never change. This is who I am. But that's not true, because it's not who you are. You're not your personality. You're not your ego. You're not your mind. And you're not your accumulation. You're not your brainwashing and your conditioning. Because all of that, this is what form a personality. So what happened when you start feeling a longing inside? For a lot of people, it starts from being in touch with their own suffering and their own pain. Events happen in their life and it triggers something. And suddenly they start asking some big question about themselves. What's the meaning of this? Why am I here? And then it triggers something else. They start having a spiritual awakening. They start putting everything in question about their life. Have you been there? You question everything, the government, society, your parents, everything, industry. Why is the world like this? How can you make a big impact and be an instrument of grace and devotion? And so then out of that, you start feeling a longing. Longing is often, for most people, that longing, the way they feel it. I can tell you that from my own entourage, my own follower and disciple. It happened from a feeling of unfulfillment and seeking something. Normally, the thinking will start seeking like happiness, seeking bliss, seeking something where you're like always looking for something. If it's not the phone, the social media, relationship, you see what I'm getting? It's like it never fulfills you. And suddenly, as you go deeper into this longing, you start realizing, I want to know who I am. What is the divine? And then it goes even further. Suddenly you want to experience what it is, the divine within. What is my own divinity? How do I express that? How do I merge with that? And it starts like going deeper. Now is the beginning of the magic. Because when you start feeling the magic of longing, and you embark on the spiritual path, or even if you're not, you start having a spiritual awakening, and your heart, you have to start opening up. You feel everything at different level, and then the longing becomes stronger. That's why it's called longing. It's very long, because when you have that longing, sometimes you start crying and mourning and grieving, or feeling this. It's hard to put into words what you feel inside, that you want to know what is this creation? What am I all about? Why is this in existence? Have you ever wondered that? And you want to expand those boundaries of ignorance. You want to expand those boundaries of expansion to merge with that. Even though you might not know intellectually what it is, but there's love inside. And then suddenly you start falling in love. And falling in love could be, okay, you have done all relationship. You got heartbroken. Those relationships don't work. They never lead you there, never. Because the only perfect love is divine love. It has no flaw. It's the ultimate, and we'll get there. Why it's the perfect love. It will never fail you. It will never abandon you, because you one with the divine, and you are completely merged and in touch with your own divine presence. And you have broken those boundaries. And I'm not talking about intellectually, I'm talking about experientially. To experience what is the glory and the beauty of our true nature, because ultimately we are that unique wave of the divine ocean that crash and suddenly wake up and realize that descent is the ascent for the highest, for liberation, and to experience the bliss inside, such an ananda, your true nature of who you are. So devotion, when you look at Hanuman, you look at, okay, what this story has to teach is great devotion. Why was he recognized as the epitome of bhakti yoga? Because bhakti, that's what it means basically. Bhakti means from loving devotion. Yoga comes from yog, means union. From Sanskrit, it means to, exactly that, is to unite, to be in union with God, whatever we call it by so many names. And religion call it by so many names. But that's the beauty about spirituality. It's universal. It has no boundary, no dogma, no doctrine. And so you can call it the universal consciousness. You can call it Brahma. You could call it Shiva in the yogic tradition. You could call it the Divine Mother. We yogi, we call the Divine Mother for many reasons. And so the great quality of Hanuman is, in that story of the Ramayana, it shows us very clearly that Hanuman was in touch with his inner truth, the absolute truth, that in his devotion, he saw Rama as a divine person, and he worshipped him not as an external figure, but as a being, as the divine, where he had merged with this being. And so, and that's the ultimate, absolute truth. So that's one aspect. The other aspect was ultimate selflessness. He was completely putting Rama above. He, every breath, every beat of his heart was for Rama and Sita. He lived, that was his life. And through that, he completely dissolved himself. Do you know how powerful it is when you dissolve, you complete? That means you dissolve karma. Because personality, all of what we just talked about, is purely karma. And then he could be completely empowered into his own divine presence. And ultimately, in that ultimate selflessness, you see is true devotion is silent, is humble, is in a state of surrender. A state of surrender is not a state of submission. There's this big myth, especially in the Western Hemisphere, a lot of people misunderstand surrender. Let's just look at surrender as a sense of abandonment, not submission, meaning that you are under the power of someone else. Because submission, that's basically what it means. Submission means that there is power over. Do you follow what I'm saying? In surrender, in the sense of abandonment, it means you let go. Do you see? It's a huge difference from letting go or being under a state of submission. And so that's why surrender, always look at it as a let go of. And when you let go and you're in that state of abandonment, that will be done, it beget an expansion of consciousness. Suddenly, the mind goes away. When love is there, devotion is there, the mind starts dropping because there's trust. In trust, you will naturally have no, you will have no mind. You will naturally will realize that you're full of God. You're full of the divine because you're full of trust. And so it's so beautiful, that grand empowerment of devotion. You just completely give into it, and you know that you're doing something and you offer it for the divine. Whatever is for you the divine, it could be your spiritual teacher, master, it could be a deity, like in the case here, Rama was considered an avatar of Vishnu's. And so the hidden mystical power of surrender is there is no little you. Now, when you start dissolving more and more, you become more empowered into your own divine presence. What would you prefer? Would you rather be a wave, or would you rather be the infinite ocean of divine love? I'm asking you a question. Prashant, just nudge it in. What would you prefer? What would you prefer? Would you rather be the ocean? Online, I'm asking you, what would you prefer? Do you want to be the infinite ocean? It's a very simple question. Or do you just want to be that little unique wave crashing? What do you want? Of course you want to be the ocean. I mean, who would not? I mean, but that's what happens when you crash. And then you recede to the ocean. That's where the merging happens. This is what you're like. So this is what devotion gives you. So through love, intense love, in that transcendental reality, you don't see God as an impersonal, absolute truth. It becomes a divine person. Or you could just say, a being who is self-realized, your guru. And then through that love come Rati. This is another super mystical power. I think we lost, is it going through? Yeah. Rati, a lot of you are probably not familiar with this. How many of you know what it means, Rati? Type it in the chat if you know, and also type it in the chat if what you want. You want to be the vast ocean, or do you just want to be that little wave? It would be lovely to hear. So Rati, what happened throughout the ages, the Maharishi, the great sages who brought the knowledge of yoga, and it comes all the way from Shiva. When he came, 10,000, it's been said, over 8,000, there's still a debate over it, when he came on this planet to impart this science of self-realization, of yoga, of enlightenment. And throughout that, throughout the ages, then at one point, I think I was in 1000 CE, where the great Maharishi Shandila and Naranda wrote the aphorism of love, of Bhakti Yoga. And as a matter of fact, Naranda said of Bhakti, of loving devotion, that is complete, intense love to God. That's quite a statement. And then Shandila, great Maharishi, great sage, said that loving devotion is the supreme attachment to the Lord. He meant Lord, whatever is that object of devotion. It can be anything. And so through devotion, as you dissolve, because it's a process, it doesn't happen overnight. As the Rati becomes stronger, now let me explain Rati. Rati comes from Sanskrit. It means it's an intense love, devotion through your emotion and through your feelings. Because when you go through spiritual awakening and your Anahata opened up, you will feel explosion, like you will not know why. You're like in divine love. You feel this divine love flowing through you. And when you start feeling that, then you start feeling more longing, and the Rati kicked in. When the Rati kicked in is when the longing is really strong. And what those sages said, Naranda and Shandila, is when you loving devotion is one pointed in one direction, like what Devi Ma talk about all the time, with your magical wand of your volition, your conscious thought, your conscious word, and your conscious action. Create an energetic field that goes straight, and it's all aligned towards that object of devotion. And the Rati, that intensity of your emotion, it becomes a superpower. Because that's where the magic happened. I can tell you from my own experience. That's why I can be here today and be empowered to do this work, because my own experience, oh my God, loving devotion and bhakti. Still, I am a devotee today. Can you believe it? I am devoted to you. And I'm devoted because that's how I can do this work. I don't get paid when I come here. I have done this work. I do it selflessly because my divine love has expanded to all living beings. And that is the goal, is when you become the ocean, there is no object of devotion. One, everything become the object of devotion. All living beings, not material things. Like that was one of the aspects we were saying for Hanuman. In his quality, he was way above material good. He could care less about that necklace, even if it was worth millions, because the love he had was so pure in his heart, and he was so one with them. And I didn't finish the end of the story. I don't think I have, because it's very beautiful. And after that, the whole court saw the golden aura and Sita and Rama sitting in his heart. Rama was overflowing with tears, and he stood up and he came and he put his hands on his chest, on Hanuman's chest, and healed him and closed up. And he whispered to him with his tear coming down, he said to Hanuman, he said, not only you are my devotee, but you are my soul. This is how they had become one. There was no Hanuman, there was no Rama anymore, they were one. And this is where the great strength of Hanuman came for, because it's known that Hanuman had so much strength that he could move mountains. Do you know the story in the Ramayana? I'll tell you because it's a short story. It's very beautiful because it really demonstrates what is the strength of a devotee, of true devotion. And this is where you gain siddhi, spiritual power. That was his strength. When we talk about Hanuman's strength, we talk about siddhi. Siddhi from Sanskrit means spiritual power. He was very humble about that. He did everything. There was no personal agenda, because in devotion there is no personal agenda. Hanuman was operating from his divine presence. So when you operate from your divine presence, you don't even have to be in a state of abandonment, because there's nothing to abandon. There is no you anymore. Do you follow what I'm saying? And so here, let's go back in time for a moment. Just imagine that. They were on the battlefield, right, in Sri Lanka. I think it happened in Sri Lanka. And there was big fighting, and it was tremendous, and they were shooting arrows in those times. And Lakshman, who was Ramana's brother, who was very beloved to Ramana, got hit by an arrow, and it went right below his heart, and it just collapsed on the ground. And Rama was overtaken when he saw Lakshman falling down. And he had to continue fighting with the king, Ravana, I think it was his name, of Lanka at the time, who had kidnapped Sita, who had been in exile for decades, for I don't know how long, but she had been in exile for a very long time. And they were trying to bring her back to the kingdom. And so Hanuman, he cried out to Hanuman. The doctor came, they looked at Lakshman was dying. They said, we know if we cannot do something to save him, he's going to die. And finally, Hanuman didn't say anything. He grew himself really big and strong and very light, like a Superman. And he just took off, didn't say anything. While the doctor was looking at him, he told Hanuman, we need one herb. And this herb is a very rare herb. It's called Sanjivani. Have you heard of that? Sanjivani has mystical power. It exists today. I just ordered it yesterday, by the way. It has unbelievable mystical ability to heal many aspects. It's a Ayurvedic herb. You could look it up. And so, but it's found apparently only in the Himalaya. And so from Lanka, here grows Hanuman big, and with this power, with his siddhi, with his strength of devotion, he flew all the way to the Himalaya in the speed of light. And he started looking everywhere, looking for this herb. And he was not sure how it looked like, even though he had a description. There were thousands of herbs. And he looked, and he said, oh my God. And as he was traveling, he took hold of the sun. He put it underneath his arm. Can you imagine how powerful he was? Because he was told, I think by the doctor, he said, if we cannot save him before the sun rises again, Lakshman will die. And so he was holding the sun from rising. This is the power of a devotee when you have superpower. And so finally, so God, he said, I'm just going to bring the peak of the mountain, and I'm going to bring it back straight to the doctor. And he flew back. I don't know if you saw that photo. Hanuman flying, carrying the mountain for Rama and Sita. Can you imagine? Even though his devotion was for them, he was doing it also for his brother. So you see, he saw that loving devotion in every being. And so Hanuman was flying fast, fast, fast. He landed, he put it there as he was holding the sun. He told the doctor, go pick the herb. The doctor goes, pick the Sanjivani herbs, put it right on Lakshman. And out of a sudden, Lakshman start coming back to life. Isn't that a beautiful story? And then suddenly, Unaman realized, oh, he released the sun, the godson, they call it the godson. And then the sunrise came up. And in this whole act, then Ravana left the war, and Lakshman came back to life. So this is a mystical Lord of the yogic tradition. It's symbolic. It's, you could say, it's, what is the word I'm looking for? Metaphoric. It's metaphoric. It's a metaphor, but it's true. Because the strength Hanuman have when you're a true devotee and you become one with that object of devotion, and normally is your teacher, then there is no teacher and there's no you. And then you develop everything that needs to happen. The power of the divine start developing. So you see the hidden power of devotion. And one last point I will say to you, beloved, is devotion, it's not for the object of devotion. You're not doing it for your guru. You're not doing it for that deity. Whatever is the object, you're doing it for you. You're doing it for you. It's your grand empowerment of dissolution. It is a yogic tool to merge and to unite and to discover the true beauty of your soul. Because when you have that heart and soul connection with that beloved and lover become one. It's like Shiva Shakti. In this state of abandonment, receptivity will happen. You will naturally start becoming open. It takes openness, receptivity, and vulnerability. People who have a lot of ego will never experience the divine within. Oh, they could get maybe a glimpse, but to really merge and to really experience the full glory of what our Creator gave us is the power of loving devotion. Give you that, because when you madly fall in love, I always say, you madly fall in love with the ocean of divine love, then you naturally open up the gate. You naturally open up the windows. But someone who is so into their ego and their mind, how can they open? So the one thing to really remember is the guru does not need the devotion. The deity does not need the devotion. You're using it for you to dissolve. And that's the power. And Hanuman understood that because he was so one with Rama. There was no Hanuman anymore. There was just Rama. His heart beat for him. And so loving devotion and bhakti yoga is the only true love, because there is no codependency here. Even though you become so obsessed maybe with the object of devotion, it's actually a good thing, because that's where the rati kick in. In rati, I didn't tell you, is you become very intense. And in that intensity, this is when things happen spiritually. You see, if you don't have the intensity, the Kundalini is not going to rise. It does need Shakti to manifest and to rise. And you have to have that intensity with you. When I went through my Kundalini ascension, oh my God, even today, the intensity is, it's such a powerful divine tool that empower you in such a grand way. And so in perfect love, you're madly in love with everything. And so it doesn't matter, nothing matters anymore, because you see the divine everywhere. You really experience, not intellectually, but experientially, what is to be one with everything. To see the creator in the eye of a cat. To see the Divine Mother in a flower, you know, and to, or in the sky, or even in the breeze, just closing your eyes, you're so intoxicated. Not because you drink a glass of wine or you drink a beer, but your natural bliss is just right here in that present moment. Not because you smoke a joint and it affected your lucidity because you a little bit wipey. No, you're in a state like of an equanimity, and then because all those strings attached, that's called codependency, whatever you may call it, the wounds, the hurt, the ego, the mind, the conflicts, the friction, the suffering, the pain, you know, the daily stuff, just start melting more. I will tell you, beloved, that devotion, when you see it as a tool, as a grand empowerment for your own divinity, for your self-discovery, it's opening a flood like you have no idea. It's drinking straight from the Divine Mother, drinking the nectar of bliss. That's what it is. And then even if you become attached to your spiritual master, it's completely all right, because here, that kind of attachment is actually healthy. I've said, Chandala, the great sage, said, attachment to that divine presence is the only perfect love, because eventually you merge so completely in it that what we call in the yogic tradition, we call it parabhakti. It means you are in complete love participation. Parabhakti is where you experiencing Satchitananda, your true divine presence, and that you experience your own enlightenment, your own self-realization. It's like a beautiful blossoming lotus. It takes time, that unfoldment. It takes a lot of elements, and that loving devotion, that mystical power we talked about, everything, that loving trust from the soul, and the trust and the strain. All of this, the vulnerability, the receptivity, the agent of dissolution change everything about you. So we're almost done. Let's talk about the tool for the moment. What are the tools of devotion? A lot of things, I'm sure that question will come up. The tool of devotion is, it just happened that when you are on the spiritual path, you can express that love. You can start small, you know. It's expressed often in bhakti, in chanting, when you chant. But I would say the most fundamental way is that whatever you do, especially if it's for your teacher, you offer it to the divine. Offer it. Offer yourself. You don't even have to say it. You do it consciously and mindfully. Whatever act I do, I'm offering. Because the whole idea of loving devotion as a tool for you to empower yourself is that you do it humbly. You do it in a way where you don't need recognition. You could do it completely silent, like seva volunteering. You do it out of loving devotion. You feel that love in your heart. It feels, you're so happy to do it. And you don't expect anything in return. Because if you do it because you want to be noticed, or you do it because you want to be praised, or you do it for whatever motive behind it, then this is not loving devotion anymore. Then you're only creating karma for yourself. But if you're truly doing it out of devotion, it can be expressed in seva. And that doesn't mean it's for this specific object of devotion, like your guru or a deity. You could express it, offer it to that person, because it needs to be seen as a person. It needs to be tangible in the physical world, because it's very hard, it's actually impossible to have loving devotion to an impersonal truth. It's very hard. Most people have a really hard time. But eventually, no, I'm getting there. Eventually you expand that, then it becomes, you don't need that person. It's not there anymore. You see it in everything. That's how it happened. But this is a process. First, it starts from that object of devotion, whatever it is. It does not need, it should never be imposed. And then devotion expand, and then you see it in everything. And so in seva, in volunteering, in chanting, bhajan, it can be expressed in art, in dancing, when you dance for the Divine Mother. And your dancing can be in singing, it can be in painting, it can be for a cause, for the animal. And you are doing something for the cause, whatever it is, and you involve, and you're helping, and you're speaking for the suffering for the animal, and you want to bring about a real contribution to raise the consciousness. When you do it with so much love, and you offer yourself to the Divine Mother, and you don't do it for any reason. You do it because you have so much love. Because, like in this case, you see the animal, you see the divine in the animal. And you see what I'm saying? And so you offer it and you do it. And when you do everything that way, as you dissolving, you expanding it, and then the divine is everywhere. So you see what I'm, so just be open. It takes time to bring spiritual teaching, you know. It's wonderful to have this eagerness to know. But we will take a few questions, and I have here a few questions that came from online through our Sangha. By the way, we welcome everyone who is new. The warmest welcome to Devi Mayi Ma, Drinking Bliss Satsang. And don't forget to click the like button and write comments and like and share with your friends and your family. And if for some reason your question that don't get answered tonight, write them down in the comment section, because I will always take an opportunity to answer them, maybe there online or maybe in a future satsang. And that's why I got some question here from last time, from a few other places. And we have a new beloved community on Facebook. I don't know if you know. It's really wonderful. And it's called Devi Ma Beloved Community. You can check it out. And so let's go over those questions. One of them actually come from that. And it's from Adam in Texas. I hope he's here tonight. Namaste, beloved. I think you are. And he did not pose exactly a question, but I know what is his question. But I will read a little bit what he wrote. He was actually confused about surrender and submission, and I think I clearly answered that. So submission is power over. You can see that very much in patriarchal society, is when you subjugate it under the power of someone. So you're doing something against your will. That's different. Surrender is a sense of abandonment, is a sense of letting go. It's like you let go. And I will give you a very tangible, concrete idea, Adam, here, because his question was going further with this, and I love his question. He goes on saying, and about authority, I did not communicate well clearly. I won't read everything because it was very long. It is not really my view. It is a samskara that I'm working on through authority. And a samskara, for some of you, if you don't know, it's a karmic structure. It's a karmic impression. Because often it's not the ego in the mind. Sometimes is a karmic impression that is preventing you to really be there, because it's an obstacle. So that's why he's saying that at that samskar, he had an issue with authority, which, how many of you have had issue with authority? Please raise your hand. You know, I think all of us, right? With family of origin, dysfunctional family, authority, patriarchal, that's submission. When your father says, no, and he come and spank you and talk to you verbally, and then you say, yes, Papa, and then you cry and you scream, that is submission. You see the difference? Surrender, sense of abandonment. I'm getting there, but let me finish what he says. Authority with government, anyhow, we won't go there. So he said, still working on that theme of surrender and submission, but I will go further. Let me go further. I'll go straight to the point. He's saying that, I think we clarified that. I won't read everything because it's too long and it's not necessary. But ultimately, for divine empowerment here of your own divinity, he's still struggling with the theme of personal will versus divine will. Personal will and divine will, and using the magical wand. The very basic of my teaching is about the magical wand, which will be the subject of our next satsang next month in St. Anselmo. And by the way, I want to make a quick announcement here for just a second. We're celebrating tonight is our last satsang in our home sanctum. We will be in St. Anselmo at the beautiful Om Yoga studio with the beautiful Martine in the downtown in St. Anselmo. So we're going public with our Drinking Bliss Divine Satsang. And so, anyhow, so divine will and personal will. And several of them said online, I'm in the same boat, because they don't understand, how do you use your magical one? Lolo, you must remember what is the magical one. You, you have been with Devi Ma for a very long time, and you come to the satsang. I've talked about it, but the next satsang will be strictly on that, and I will give a lot of concrete example how to be in the world, how to use it. So Adam is struggling with this. Who is driving this thing? Is that personal will or divine will? Do you want to know? So let me go over quickly. I won't go in depth about the magical one. Will be next satsang. It'll be fascinating. So I encourage you to come, and because I will be very empowering. The magical one is your volition, your conscious thought. Volition is very important here. Volition is an intention. It doesn't come from ego, it doesn't come from the mind. When you use a magical one, you can use it with your personal will, or you could use it with divine will. Now, I think where Adam is struggling, and a lot of people struggle with, is there is two reality. Ultimately, there's only one, but let me explain. There is relative truth, which pertain to the physical realm. So relative truth is when one is in relationship of another thing. You see what I'm saying? So relative truth is, let's say in a relationship, is between two people. What is the relative truth of two people? Let's say they are in codependency in their relationship. Okay, it's not a healthy relationship. There's a lot of abuse. That's the reality. It's relative truth. You see? But the absolute truth is, what means absolute is omnipotent, omnipresent, is permanent, it's unchanging. So an absolute truth is things never change. When you talk about absolute truth, is in their relationship, they might have a very dysfunctional relationship that on the relative plane, because it takes two. But the absolute truth is both, even though, let's say, whoever they are, those people, they completely are, let's say, really screw up. Excuse the word, I cannot find a better word. Meaning like the abusive, they're killing each other and throwing things. I'm just exaggerating. But the absolute truth, they are divine being. You see what I'm saying? There. Because they're abusive. They're verbally abusive. They're physically abusive. Maybe one might be beating the other one. It could be very ugly, but when it comes the end of the day, the absolute truth is those two being within their own self. The divine is right there. You see what I'm saying? This is an example. Now let's go back to the magical one. I'm going to give you a very concrete example here for Adam and all of you. Personal will and divine will. The question, always ask yourself, beloved, what do you empower? Do you empower your ego? Or do you empower your ego or your mind? Or do you empower your divine presence? You should ask yourself that question. Because the reality, if you start dissolving and merging, you become in a state that is non-dualistic. And I think that's where the confusion gets, is if you operate from your divine presence, there is no you. There is no personal will anymore. There is only divine will. So when you use your magical one of your volition, your conscious thought, because everything is used, the magical one needs to be mindful. You see, your words, needs to be mindful and conscious. Your action will create your energy. So if it comes from ego and mind, then there will be a personal agenda. You can still use your magical wand, so who drives it? It can be really ego. It can definitely be the mind. But if you're in a situation, let's say, I'll give you an example. You're a musician, right? Or a dancer. Here, we got a beautiful dancer here. Actually, she's quite amazing, very talented. Belly dancing. Let's use that example. You have a YouTube channel, and you are going to do this grand performing for the Divine Mother. And you rehearse it, and this beautiful music. You got this beautiful costume, and you really use your magical wand with the right thoughts, the right volition, and the right action. You promote it on social media, invite your friends. You did everything you can, right? And you have everything set up, but no one show up. Okay. But now, you're not empowering yourself using your magical wand with your divine presence. In that moment, ego kicked in, you empower yourself with personal will. Here comes duality. You're causing the illusion of separativeness because ego kicked in. Remember, ego is just an illusion because the reality, there's not such a thing. But we won't go there. There will be an upcoming satsang also. That will be in September, all about ego. And there will be fascinating satsang. I can't go in everything because we'll be here until 6 o'clock in the morning. But let's stick to that. So Lolo, I'll give the two examples. This side, oh my God, here she's about to go live. No one shows up. She put up this great show, and she's totally upset. This is just an example. I'll give you the divine example too. And from divine will and personal will, but let's show the personal will, how she used a magical one. But she does it mindfully. She said, what the heck? I work so hard. People are so stupid. They don't see the beauty in me. They don't see that I'm a great dancer. I'm like, what? This is terrible. Just working so hard. And then the self-talk kick in. I'm worth nothing. God. And then she heard the voice of her mother. I always told you, you will never do anything good in your life. And then it goes on, and then one thing kick in, and the self-talk start going, eh. You see what I'm saying? So now suddenly she's not empowering herself mindfully with a magical wand. She allowed it, the ego, the illusion of the ego and the mind to kick in. So she's operating from personal will. So she still used the magical wand. And you know what happened as a consequence of that? Then her whole energy changed. Suddenly she feels down. Her biochemistry is very physical. It goes all over into her body. And she feels depressed. She beats herself up and she starts crying. And she said, you know what? What the heck? We're not going live. I don't want to do anything with YouTube. And then it's like the end of the world. And she doesn't go live. Can you imagine? This is the negative way to go with the magical one. But she did it mindfully, but maybe not. She empowered the ego. She empowered the mind. And most likely, but I would say differently, she did not do it mindfully and consciously, because if she would have stopped for a moment. Now comes the divine will and say, you know what? It's noon, and we're about to go live, and I'm vibrant. I love the Divine Mother, and she kicked in with the Rati, and now she's on fire. I love the Divine Mother. I'm just going to dance for her because I know I'm one with her, and I'm going to dissolve, and I'm just going to dance out of passion. I don't care if anybody is here. And the thoughts behind it is she goes into surrender, meaning she goes into a sense of abandonment. And then she let go. She let go of the fact there's not one single person in the room. She could care less because she knows that the vibration in her is high. She knows she's overflowing with divine love, and she feels it. I can feel it as I'm talking. Shakti is just flowing. And she goes wild, and she said, press the button, we're going live. And through that power of her words, of her energy, of her volition, and empowering her divine will and using her magical wand, not out of ego, of really like, not to show up, but because she does it out of rati, out of passion. And she offered very humbly. And she said, I will dance to the Divine Mother no matter what takes. And I will even give you one more example. I will take only 30 seconds to tell you. And it happened very recently with one of my followers. You will love that. But we're almost done. And thank you, Lolo, for being such a great example. and so you see, and out of a sudden she goes live, and then she just in bliss. And suddenly out of that, at that energy she pulled out, certainly she started having a lot of viewers. And they love what she puts, and new subscriber and comments are coming in, and hearts are coming in. And oh my God, they love Lolo. You see, this is empowering your divine presence. This is empowering your magical one. Because Lolo loved her teacher, and through her teacher, she did it out of devotion. And through her teacher, she see the Divine Mother, and she did it for the Divine Mother. She didn't do it out of ego. And this is where the mystical hidden power of devotion kick in. This is where you develop everything that needs to happen. You see, isn't that a beautiful story? That cannot be more concrete. I'll give you one more little story. I'm working on divine alchemy empowerment with a few of my followers. And I don't do it often, it's rare, but I'm offering it temporarily right now for a while because I was asked, not because I truly need it. I was asked, and finally I said, okay. And I can work only with a few because I'm too busy. And one specific, to see the transformation, and one in particular. And she said, and actually this is a great point I want to point out tonight. A lot of you who are walking the spiritual path, at least in my entourage, in my community, in my Sangha, and it's probably like that in Zen. Because if you make it a job, then you put doership in it. And the whole sense of being, of love, fall apart. And so this being is struggling with that. And we were working on that. And she had a big realization. She had an epiphany and realized, wow, Devi Ma, for I don't know how many years, 8 or 11 years, I've been on the spiritual path. And I feel I am spiritually exhausted. And then in a flash of second, through the empowerment, what we did, and the process, she realized, I made it a job. That's why I'm so exhausted. And then I said to her, but beloved, because it's dry, if you have the juice of devotion, you're not in a hurry anymore. Because you're so anchored into the Zen moment, in this present moment, everything drops. That Zen moment is eternal. Even if it takes 1,000 years longer to be on the spiritual path, you should be willing. This is how a true devotee, a true sadhaka walk the spiritual path. Because you are so in love with God, whatever you call God, is that it doesn't matter how long it's going to take. Because it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be joyous. It's like Lolo dancing and going wild. This is how the spiritual path needs to be. Not a job. And so, take it easy. Change your perspective. Empower your divine presence. Empower your divine will. Not the personal will. And always stop and bow down. First, go back to your conscious breath mindfully and reconnect with the divinity within your own being. And always ask yourself, how? And it takes humbleness, you know, to really push aside ego and mind and to say, how am I operating in my life? And you will realize more and more as you go, you will have more epiphany, you will have more realization. And for this being, it was a big revelation. So this is the kind of attitude you need to, what I said in this example is, this is divine will. If you're willing to say, I'm willing, I don't mind if it takes another 100,000 lifetime, I'm in. And you know what? Tomorrow morning, you might just awaken and attain, there's nothing to attain, but to peel off everything that needs to peel off. And enlightenment will happen in this lifetime. This is how it works. You have to be willing. And to look at, okay, what is your state of mind? And where is this coming from? It's very empowering. So do you see the difference, beloved? Would you check the chat, my love, if we see any question? Adam, if you hear, I hope, huh?
Yeah, he's listening, yeah.
Great. Is that clarifying? I hope so. Do you see relative truth versus absolute truth? So the absolute truth, when the two merge, is absolute truth will always empower you to your divine will. And when you use your magical wand, what drives it is ultimately your divine presence. Because if you listen very deep inside and you allow your heart and your soul to drive it, and that sense of separativeness that you're creating, maybe not intentionally. And don't worry if there's some samskar there. It takes time. You know, with sadhana, those impressions start falling off. If there's codependency or whatever it is that you're working in your life, mind pattern, whatever is it, discipline, lack of discipline, procrastination, judgment, you know, all those flaws that you see in humanity, grumpiness. You see those things, you know. Those are all samskar. So whatever you're dealing with, beloved, don't worry. Surrender it. If it's too much for you, bow down. Physically bow down. Offer it to the Divine Mother and say, this is too much for me. I have done it many times. As I say, I'm still a devotee to you. I will always be a devotee because it's true devotion today the beauty of what occurred in my own life, I'm talking with a lot of experience, a lot of credential here. I can tell you what I have experienced is the same as Hanuman, but my spiritual name is not Hanuman. So the last question was from Yusuf. Namaste. Yusuf online on channel, but his true name is Morad. Morad has been definitely in devotion to Devi Mayi Ma has been really beautiful. He's managing the beloved community on Facebook. Thank you so much for being here and to volunteer. He has been doing amazing, beautiful posts. And it's been wonderful to see the interaction. So he asked in the previous satsang, it was exactly how do you use your longing and your devotion as a tool to that you teach to empower yourself. And I think we covered that. And as I was going through the satsang, I was keeping in mind those questions that you're doing it already. You're not aware, beloved, but you are. As long as you don't put ego in mind, and you don't expect anything in return, and you offer it. Because also when you do that, many of you don't realize, you become a karma yogi. You're doing karma yoga. Karma yoga is another path on the yogic path, on the spiritual path. Karma is you do a selfless action, whatever it is, from volunteering for the animal, to maybe donating a piece of art like I've done in the past. I was so in love with Guru Dev when I was with him like over 20 years ago. I was like a gopi. I'll give you want to hear my own example? I was madly in love. This is Guru Dev. I was in bhakti. Guru Dev. I saw Guru Dev everywhere, everywhere. So much that when I was at his ashram in India, I went to his Goshala where he had the cows, right? And I saw him in the cow. And they felt my love, my devotion. For me, Gurudev was my Krishna. And out of a sudden, I felt this wave, and Krishna just came. And Krishna is in the embodiment of Vishnu. The other avatar of Vishnu's, like I said, Rama also, like we talk. And that was a very powerful mystical experience. And the cow, I had dozens of cows, and they had tears in their eyes, and they were licking my arms. And I was completely blissed out. I was so one with Gurudev. I adore him. I was crazy about him in those days. Through the power of my devotion, what we call the gopi, you know, the Lord, the mystical Lord with the gopi and Krishna, how they love Krishna. It's been said that hundreds of gopis got enlightened just like that, just from their divine love they had for Krishna. Just like that, they became one. And so it happened to my being. And I was with the cows, and I saw Krishna, who, for me, Gurudev was my Krishna. And I adore Krishna, also the Krishna. And just in complete rati, intensity, madness. And I walk around the ashram. I had a hard time walking. And it was beautiful because they kept saying, oh, Devi, they call me Devi, and those days just Devi, she find her Krishna. She's so intoxicated with Krishna. That was before I was diagnosed with cancer, by the way. That's a long time ago. So I'm just giving you a little example. So we'll take one question online, and then we do the meditation. Any question online? Only one. And if for some of you we have missed, like I said, write in the comment section, And if I can answer them quickly online, I will. Or if they need more teaching, more wisdom, then we'll bring it to maybe in presence. Divine Satsang, by the way, I have a brief announcement. Our next in presence Divine Satsang, which is a new format, the last Saturday of the month at noon Pacific time. Every Saturday this month we won't have it because we have Radiating the Light mini version spiritual retreat. And we'll put the link in the comment section. Some of you, if you want to join us, it's a very small group, very intimate with Devi Mayi Ma to be empowered to the Siddha Satchit Kriyananda. You can check it out in the link, and it is coming up on July the 25th and the 26th. All the information it's on the website. And so we won't have the in-presence Divine Satsang because of that. But in August we will. Any question, Lolo? Just a very quick question, nothing elaborated.
Well, is somebody named Yosef? And this was not one that you already talked about. I'm not sure. I have two questions. I think they're related.
Okay, why don't you take a photo, send it to me?
Send it, please.
Yeah, and I can read it quickly. I think maybe it will be easier. And it won't take long, and then we will okay, that's probably the best way. Let's see. Okay, I think I laid it down. Okay, the question is, it's really not a question, but he said, Yusuf Morad, he says, I have two questions. I can I want to do it. Trust I want to have, that we have enough time to go into meditation. So no more than 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I have two questions. I think they are related, so maybe it is one. First one, how to direct my personal will to serve the divine will and to align it with the divine will. Well, first, go through the self-inquiry. Stop, go back to your conscious breath, and then recenter into, without thinking, recenter into you divine being mindfully and let go. And then whatever is that you're dealing with, stop the compulsion. Because if it comes from compulsion, you know you're operating from personal will. Remember that. If it's compulsive, you're not operating from divine will. You're reactive. This is personal will. So that's the first thing. You stop, you ground yourself, stop compulsion. And remember, compulsion will start falling off more and more as you gain mastery over yourself and as you do sadhana. Because as you do sadhana, karmic structures start falling off. It's a process, it takes time. And then as you go along thinking, doing action, whatever you in that process, ask yourself, am I operating from divine presence, my divine will, or is this from ego? Do a process of self-inquiry. Because when you operate from divine will, you can tap right now in that Zen moment to put aside your thoughts, make a distance from the mind, and be humble. I'll give you an example. You're fighting with your brother. He's a pest in the house. Okay, he's saying all kind of terrible things. Just an example. You stop. Don't be compulsive. This is a mastery, it's a practice. You return to you, it's not easy. You return to your divine presence, but it gets easier the more you do it. And then don't be reactive and say, you get out of here and start fighting. No, you take distance and you cool off. Don't allow your anger. Or if you have anger, it's okay. Be in touch with this anger. You go back, you breathe, you go in your room. Don't do it in front of people. You don't have, or you could. Eventually you'll gain mastery. And then you breathe through it. Hello, little anger. I know you're here. I'm aware that you're here. And you breathe through it and you process it. Don't put it underneath the carpet. Okay? You need to process this karma, because if you don't process the karma and you build up resentments, you fight with your husband. That's another example. And whatever, Rita, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. And then you start building resentments and all that, but you don't process it. Process the emotion, allow it by going back to your conscious breath. Remember, part of using your magical wand is to use your mindful breath. This is where you can ground yourself into this existent moment right now, and then self-inquiry and process the karma that you need to process. Okay, little authority feeling is kicking out. Is that submission? Am I feeling the samskar of submission coming from my father, from the abusive family I grew up? And if it's that, process it, allow it. And then bring the blue flame of awareness. The blue pearl is the same. I talk about the blue, and we'll talk more in that next month about, this is part of the magical one. Visualize the blue pearl and stay with it for a few minutes and ground yourself. So, to distinguish how you go from personal will to divine will is you got to stop and ground yourself in a Zen moment and self-inquire. And if compulsions show up, you're not using your mindfulness, magical one from your divine presence. You know it's guaranteed. It comes from personal will because it's ego. If you're reactive and you fight and you go back into a fight and it goes out of control, that you know you did not use your divine will. You did not allow your soul. Now, let me give you an example. Okay, you got that fight, it happened, but there was no fight. He was just acting out his, let's say, this brother has narcissistic personality disorder. And he thinks he's the greatest and he put you down all the time, right? You have gained such mastery over yourself that whatever he says, it has no power over you anymore because you cut the string. You have gained enough mastery where whatever you say, you're not compulsive. You can stop, go back to your conscious breathing, and you walk away. And then you let go. You know what happened when you let go? Is that you have gone into a state of abandonment. This is operating from your divine will. You see the difference? I'm giving you a lot of examples tonight. I hope that clarifies that. And, oh yeah, he said, part of me is related to my kula. A kula, some of you, if you don't know, in the yogic tradition, a kula from Sanskrit means a clan. A clan, a tribe. Like, you have tribe all around the world. Like you, Nick, I'm sure your ancestor have a lot of kula. And your ancestor can kick in and work through you and you don't know. because the karmic structure is so strong, the genetic memory is so strong. In Hinduism, the same thing in India. Like Husaf lives in Egypt. He comes from Islam. And so there's a lot of Kula also. It doesn't matter. Everywhere there is Kula, tribe. And so there's always a karmic structure, because karma has many layers. We won't go into that, but one of them is genetic memory, because karma, that's just mean that a memory. And so he's saying my kula. So that's a samskar. Genetic memory could be very strong. And that you have to be very patient, because that could take a long time to go. And that require a lot more intensity. That's why in loving devotion, intensity is so strong, because when the intensity, it's easier to rise the kundalini, the voltage of Shakti, because there's intensity. It's like when you have intensity, there's power behind it. It's like fuel. It's like Agni. There is fire. So you can burn it faster, I can tell you. Oh my God, when I went through my Kundalini or sunshine, it was beyond like speed light. So he's saying is Kula, I see myself and my clan as not the divine. So it is easy to see everything as the divine, but it is not easy to see my family and part of myself. This is very confusing. I realize it's not your language, English, but I would say don't worry about it. I think we have clarified pretty much everything. All I can say, beloved, it will come a day you will see everything as the divine. Because your clan, your kula, and your family are divine. Even the animal, everyone is divine.
Peanut is also divine.
Uh-huh.
Even peanut is also divine.
Everything in the world is divine. Because Shakti is in everywhere. It's a creation of the divine. And so in the beginning, it's an intellectual exercise for many of you. But as ego and mind and karma start falling off, it becomes easier and easier. And then Rati kicked in, divine love kicked in. And then you will start, because if you are really and truly in divine love, you just stay with that feeling. So this is a tool for you. Then bring back your bhakti sadhana. I'm talking to you, Murad. You know what I'm talking about. When you ground yourself into this present moment, you feel this anger, offer it to Devi Mayi Ma and offer it to the Divine Mother, the same. And bring the bhakti sadhana. And you know what to do. And just go. And then you will suddenly see, ooh, all those negative emotion goes away. Suddenly the energy will rise in you. You have a different frequency, you have a different vibration. So I hope this clarifies it. Even if it's not 100% clarified, don't worry. As you walk to the path, a pathless path, just go in love. Bring the juice of devotion. Offer it. Offer your karma. Offer yourself. Offer your devotion. And don't worry about anything. And just have fun. And don't worry, because everything will be revealed in divine timing. And all of a sudden you will have epiphany. You'll say, oh my God, this is what Devi Ma was talking about. It will click out of a sudden without not even be aware of it. You will have an insight, you will have a realization, you will have an epiphany. You don't need to understand everything tonight intellectually. So what about if you completely let go of everything right now. Let's have a beautiful meditation. Because we're a little late, there was a process I was going to do. We were going to do Amkara meditation, but I think we will skip that. We will just go with the empowering deity guided meditation. I want you to lay down on the floor, all of you. You can use pillow. Make yourself very comfortable. You could leave your phone away from you.
Oh, it's not on.
Okay. You could stretch your leg. Nick, you can move and you can come up front so no one will see you. Yeah, you can use pillow. There's pillow everywhere. You can pick up some pillow if you need some pillow here. And put, for you also online, beloved, just go into the corpus pause. Make sure you have a pillow underneath your knee. Make yourself very comfortable. And if you love this satsang, you find it empowering, just put a big red heart with a yes on the comment section. That will bring a lot of happiness to Devi Mayi Ma. When I see that, I know you're there. Okay. Put let go of everything. Put your hands on the ground and completely let go. Maestro Musica. And for you, beloved, the same online, I hope you have your earplug. A little louder. Take a deep breath. Make a fist with your hands and tight up every muscle. Just pretend you're dead, but you tied up, tied up, tied up. You can put a pillow underneath your legs if you need some support. It's okay if you fall asleep. Your subconscious mind will hear everything. Take another deep breath. Tight, 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 tight. Make a fist. Tight your legs, your torso, your leg. Tight everything. Karina has it perfectly right. So you have, you can have a blanket. Make sure you're very comfortable. We're going to go into a different world where the heart and the soul meet, where there's a beautiful merging with your own divinity. And the third one, make another fist, lay down, not on your side, lay down in corpus position. It will make a big difference. You could put a pillow underneath your legs and make a fist and tight, 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 tight. And if you call, close the window. We need the music a little louder. And now take a last deep breath. And with the power of your inner divinity, let go of everything in this moment. Relax every muscle into your body temple. See yourself floating right now on a beautiful ocean. And you're just floating on the water. And you have never been in that ocean before. Just a little louder. If for some reason, if the music is too loud, let us know. And you're floating gently and gently, and you feel this caressing of your soul and your spirit, and you're just melting and melting into the water. Everything about you is dissolving and is enjoying full moon. and it's at night, and it's very, very warm. The water is warm, very, very warm, and that water is a mystical water. It's impregnated with divine love and bliss, and you're melting. Everything is melting about you. You see it. Everything is melting like salt into the water. You know, when you're melting salt, you see those particles, your feet, see them, and as they're going and merging into the water, you see the light, those particles of light, and your ankle. And as you're dissolving, your awareness is right into where I point out. Your knee, see your knee dissolving. And as you're dissolving, you're feeling this overpowering wave of bliss and divine love. And your thigh, your skeleton, your sexual organ, your hands, your elbow, your intestine, your liver, your spleen, your kidney, everything is dissolving. Your skin, your arms are completely dissolved. And now your heart is melting into this vast ocean of divine love. And your ribs, your lungs, your chest, see it as pure light melting, and you're floating and floating. Your shoulder, your neck, your entire body is all melted except your head. And now your neck, your jaw, your teeth, your tongue, Prashant, and your ears, your nose, your cheek, your eyes. And as you're melting, everything is melting. Those karmic impressions are melting. Your genetic memory is melting. Everything that needs to be healed is healed by the Divine Mother. Your brain now is melting, and your hair. Everything is melted. And suddenly you're free. Your soul is flying through the cosmos, through this vast ocean of divine love. Feel the Divine Mother embracing you. I love you, my child. You're the most beautiful, beloved. You're my child. Come, I will show you who you are. And then you're flying and flying free, and you're flying through the cosmos and see the stars, see the nebula, and see the sun, and you're free, and you're flying faster and faster as speed of light. Something far away is calling you. You see a dome of light, of billions of ethereal effulgent sun, calling your soul and your spirit. It's the source, it's the Divine Mother calling you, my child. And you're flying faster, free. And in devotion, like Hanuman, you're flying with the strength and the trust and the faith. And you're going faster towards the dome of light, crossing to all those galaxies. See all the color, the beauty and the mystical galaxy, new star being formed, and some exploding, new sun being born. And the Divine Mother is calling you to come home. Now you're approaching faster and you're penetrating into this tunnel of light. And from far away you see Mount Kailash, the abode of Shiva, this mountain, this mystical mountain made out of light. See it, it's calling you. Fly on top, go on top. And you see a lotus, a gigantic lotus made out of gold. It's a golden aura, the same golden aura of Rama and Sita. And it's calling you and opening up all its petals. And you're coming closer and closer. You're right on the top, on the peak of that mountain. And then the lotus is calling you, that golden light is calling you. See now a form. It can be your guru, the Divine Mother, a deity, whatever you hold as the highest divine personification of the divine in the physical form. See it there sitting. And then right in the Anahata, go right inside the heart with your soul and your spirit. Fly, you see a cave, and then you see an effulgent blue light. It's the blue pearl. The blue pearl is the universal light of consciousness of God. And go into that blue light, and then you go sit on your own lotus. Go sit, my child, and feel the infinite divine wave of bliss and love. Allow this blue pearl to burn everything about you. sitting there, you are in complete Bhakti. And you're experiencing the light of our Creator. And you feel this gentle wave soothing your soul and your spirit. Everything about you is melting. Experience the joy and the bliss of that blue pearl. So pure. Percolating into your soul. Caressing your soul and your heart and your spirit. And hold in your third eye the vision of the blue pearl. So calm, so peaceful. So tranquil. And you're one with the whole cosmos. And your heart is, the heart of your soul is bursting with ecstasy. And you're conscious of that bliss inside. And then you bow down to our Creator with deep, deep gratitude. God, Guru, and devotee are one. There is no Guru, there is no devotee, there is no God. It's pure ecstasy, melted into this universal conscious light. Pulsating with divine love. With this new awareness and this new consciousness, you bowing down to your object of devotion, to your teacher, and to the blue pearl of awareness, the blue flame of awareness, that blue pearl. And then you flying back to the cosmos. And as you're flying back to the star and the galaxy, see yourself. You're flying at the speed of light, and a new body temple is being materialized, made out of pure light. It's made out of every color of our Creator. See new particle forming like a spiral, an effulgent ethereal white light, yellow, orange, red, green, blue, violet, and it's forming a new body temple as you're flying faster and faster to the cosmos. New skeleton, new muscle, new lymph drainage, new toes, new bone, a new lungs, a new heart, and a new life, a new life force energy breathed into you and percolating everywhere. A new brain, all new organs, new intestine, new reproductive and organs, new liver, new lungs, new shoulder, new breast, new jaw, new teeth, nose, eyes, ear. Now you have empowered your divine presence, your divine will. And as you're flying faster and faster through all those galaxies, you want to experience life with a different perception. And you know that you are a divine being of light. And out of a sudden, you find yourself floating in this cosmic ocean of divine love of the Divine Mother. But now it's early morning. The sun is coming up. See the sun coming up. Bow down to the sun. Bow down to Mother Earth. Bow down to all the animals. Express your loving devotion for the chance to be reborn, to express that divine love everywhere you go. God has given you another chance. Empower through your divine presence with your divine will. And as you're floating gently, you're coming closer and closer to the shore. And you can never feel the same anymore, because you came back with the divine blue pearl And when you need it, all you have to do, beloved, is you close your eyes and you return to your conscious breathing and you call upon the blue pearl and you see it in your third eye. And you're empowering your divine presence. And as you're coming slowly and slowly to the shore, you feel like swinging in the arm of the Divine Mother. And you're exploding with gratitude for a chance to hug, to love, to show your devotion in everything you do, and for a cause, in volunteering. Now you know your body is made out of light. And now you have reached the shore. And you have laid right on the warm pink sand. And it's early morning. Feel the warm breeze caressing your hair. Something is magical about your presence now. And the breeze is swaying into the palm tree, and you are alone right at the shore. A new life has begun for you with devotion and divine love. Take your own time. Take your own time. Whenever you're ready, you can gently turn to your right side. You bend your knee first, and then you turn on your right side and you gently get up. Everything is melting about you. Don't rush, take your time. Whenever you're ready. And for you online, beloved, you do the same. Or if you want to stay on the floor, it's completely all right. It's best you turn on your right side. Anik, always turn on your right side, because for your heart is better. Yeah, so first you raise your knee, and then you turn with your knee bended on the right, and then you gently turn. Yeah, turn on the right, that's right. Because it's no good for your heart the way you got up, especially after a process like that, and you come very slowly. Yeah. Yeah. Namaste, beloved. Namaste. So if you have any question, feel free to write in the comment section, and I make sure if your question is profound, we'll bring it live into the next Satsang, and join us next month. And you'll see on social media, I'll be there. And don't forget to subscribe and join our beloved community. And I bow down to you in devotion, and I send you a wave of divine love and light and grace Divine grace and blessing. Namaste.